The State of Crypto is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
All right, Binance founder CZ is stepping down from the board of Binance US after pleading guilty to violating the Bank Secrecy Act last week. Joining us now to discuss is CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who's also the editor of CoinDesk's State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Nick, I don't think you've gotten any rest this year with everything that's going on in the U.S. So I have high hopes for 2024 for you.
I have high hopes he uses that bed in the background.
Real quick.
Yeah, now you just got the bed real close by.
Just in case, I'm just gonna flop over. We'll see how it goes.
Let's talk about the latest in the Binance saga. So this was announced on X, formerly known as Twitter. We learned that CZ is going to be stepping down from the board. Not really a surprise given the events that have unfolded up until now, but talk to us about what's going on.
Yeah, so Binance US announced yesterday that CZ would be stepping down from his role as the, he is the majority owner of the company and the member of the board. He said he's going to put his voting shares into a proxy. So it sounds like he'll still own, his shares, what he has, but he will not take an active role in, directing any decisions about Binance US, which is, of course, the, US affiliated of the, global Binance entity. So we'll see what that means in practice, but it as you say, it doesn't seem like a huge surprise given that CZ is, already had to resign as the CEO of Binance itself and, dramatically step back from his role with that company.
Does it matter? I mean, Binance US is kind of like not a real thing, is it?
I think it would depend on who you ask, Binance US certainly thinks it's real. And, as far as the U.S. government's concerned, Binance US and its ties to Binance have been a bit of a concern. We've seen that kind of mentioned, in some of the lawsuits where, Binance US was kind of seen as this, entity, the shell corporation created to, funnel funds and all that to Binance itself. Binance US maintains its own, independent organization, its own independent exchange that, does stuff. Probably the biggest thing is, we'll see what, if anything, what this means for the SEC's ongoing litigation against it.
Nick, there's
the revenues are this. The revenues are the amount of like a dry cleaner in Manhattan.
Yeah, I'm not sure to what extent that'll be affected by CZ specifically being part of or not part of the board. But yeah, it does feel a little bit like a separate consideration right there.
Nick, there's this 3-year timeline where CZ can't be involved in any of Binance's operations, management. Is there a chance that once this 3-year period is over, he may or he could rejoin the board of Binance US or become CEO of Binance again or hold some kind of executive position?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that there is only a defined 3-year limitation suggests that door is always it will be open again. But obviously, the ecosystem and Binance itself will probably look very different by that point. So, I think part of that's going to depend on just what happens over the next 3 years. Binance for the next 3 years or next 5 years, if you're looking at the FinCEN consent order, it's going to be a company that's opening its books to the U.S. government at every request, going to make all of its past trades, future trades, current trades available, for review. It's going to have a much stricter, in theory, it's going to have a much stricter compliance process. We'll see what that looks like in practice. Although, Binance has, put a lot of emphasis in press releases and things like that over the past couple of months, saying, we're beefing up our compliance and, legal teams. So, possibilities always open, and I'm really just more curious to see, what Binance looks like at this point in 2026.
When Binance was facing regulatory scrutiny, we saw country after country, jurisdiction after jurisdiction follow suit. And this cat and mouse chase kind of seem to come to fruition. Do you think that now that the U.S. has settled with Binance on these charges, that we're going to see other countries, other jurisdictions come after Binance for similar charges?
It's definitely possible if those countries can, find enough compelling evidence to bring those kinds of cases. A lot of the countries, and we just saw this with the Philippines this morning. Um, you know, a lot of these countries are telling Binance, okay, well, you're not registered here, get out. So if Binance is no longer operating in those countries, probably a bit more difficult to bring a separate criminal enforcement action unless they have something that says, okay, well, either while you were here or even right now we have proof that XYZ is going on. The fact that the U.S. did put out not only a plea deal, a statement of facts, but just all this information to the world saying like, oh yeah, between November something 2019 and whatever, Binance found it had hundreds of users from Iran, or it's been supporting funds from various terrorist organizations. I'm sure a lot of international law enforcement agencies are going to be paying attention to that. Um, the question is, is Binance enough of a force in those countries to, warrant further action? And it'll probably, again, it's going to depend on where the volume is, where the transactions are, and, to what extent the law enforcement agencies in these countries, in the EU or wherever, decide, okay, well, the 4.3 billion Binance is paying the U.S. is not enough, or, we want to go with our version of, enforcement action. So I think this is a kind of a TBD. Let's see what happens. Which not a satisfying answer, but it's kind of where things seem to be right now.
All right, Nick, we are going to leave it there. Thank you. It's been a pleasure as always hearing your updates, and we will see you again hopefully tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, that was CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day. Don't forget to sign up for the State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com.